was sitting in a coffee shop reading the want ads when I read, Macy's Herald Square, the world's largest store, has big opportunities for outgoing, fun-loving people of all shapes and sizes. Working as an elf at Macy's Santaland means being at the center of the excitement. Well, I circled the ad and I laughed out loud. The man seated on the stool next to me must have thought I was a lunatic. Well, I continued to laugh quietly until the check arrived. Then I remembered that I don't have a job. It's funny how you can forget a thing like that. Well, I brought the ad home, and my roommate Rusty and I were laughing about it when he dared me to call for an interview. So I did. The woman at Macy's asked, "Are you interested in full-time elf or evening weekend elf?" I said, "Full-time elf. I have an appointment next Wednesday at noon." I'm a 33-year-old man applying for a job as an elf. I suppose it could be worse. I often see people on street corners dressed as objects and handing out leaflets. I tend to avoid leaflets, but it breaks my heart to see a grown man dressed as a taco. So, if there's a costume involved, I not only accept the leaflet, but I accept it graciously, saying, "Thank you so much," and thinking, "You poor pathetic son of a bitch." I was on Lexington Avenue the other day when I accepted a leaflet from a man dressed as a camcorder. Hot dogs, peanuts, tacos, video recorders, these things make me sad because they don't have a place. They don't fit in on the streets. In a parade maybe, but not on the streets. I figure that, at least as an elf, I will have a place. I'll be in Santa's village with all the other elves. We'll reside in a fluffy wonderland filled with candy canes and gingerbread shacks. It won't be quite as sad as standing on some street corner dressed as a French fry. I'm trying to look on the bright side. I arrived in New York 3 weeks ago with high hopes. Hopes that have been challenged. In my imagination, I'd go straight from Penn Station to the offices of One Life to Live, where I would spruce up and drop off my bags before going off to drinks with my new celebrity friends. Victoria Buchanan, the show's greatest star, would raise her frosty glass in my direction and say, "Everyone, may I have your attention, please? I'd like to propose a toast to..." "Oh, Clint, darling, sit down. This isn't about you." "I'd like to propose a toast to our friend David, the newest member of our television family. Welcome to Landview." I'd say, "You guys, cut it out." Vicky would lay her hand on top of mine and tell me that I'd better get used to being the center of attention. But instead, I'm applying for a job as an elf. Even worse than applying is a very real possibility that I may not get hired, that I couldn't even get work as an elf. That's when you know you're a failure. I'm down to the wire here. $20 away from walking dogs. After begging my mother for a loan, I applied at a place that covers styrofoam creatures and moss. Left to its own devices, nature can cover things in moss for free. It isn't that difficult of a task. But still, I did not get the job. A skill. A person needs a skill. Why had I never realized that before? In order to become an elf, I had to fill out 10 pages worth of forms, took a multiple choice personality test, underwent 2 interviews, and submitted urine for a drug test. The first interview was general, designed to eliminate the obvious sociopaths. But during the second interview, they asked why we wanted to become elves, which, when you think about it, is a fairly tough question. I listened as the woman in front of me, a former waitress, answered the question saying, "I really want to become an elf because I think it's about acting. And before this, I worked in a restaurant for a woman who had a dream to open a restaurant. And it made me realize that it's really, really important to have a dream." Everything this woman said, every phrase and sentence was punctuated with a question mark, and the interviewer never even looked up. When it was my turn, I said that I wanted to become an elf because it was one of the most frightening career opportunities I had ever come across. The interviewer looked up from my application and said, "And..." Well, I'm certain I failed my drug test. My urine had roaches and stems just floating in it. But still, they called me back for another round of questioning. I met with the two head managers who asked me questions regarding my interests and hobbies, and I don't recall my exact words, but somewhere along the way, I expressed an interest in whittling. The truth is, the only thing I ever whittled was a bong. I was just searching for something elf-like, and I figured I pulled it off when they sent me downstairs to fill out a series of tax forms. Afterwards, we were sent to a holding pen where I took a seat beside a female dwarf. This, I thought, was a good sign. Names were called, and the smallest people were summoned to the manager's office, followed by men with the biggest ears and women without chins. I waited a long time. Just when I'd given up hope, the manager cocked a finger in my direction and led me into the office where I was told, "Congratulations, sir. You are an elf." I spent the last several days in a crowded classroom undergoing the first phases of elf training. We were lectured by the Santaland managers and presented with the Xerox booklet of rules and regulations entitled The Elfin Guide. Most of the managers are former elves who have climbed the candy cane ladder but retain vivid memories of their days in uniform. They led us in motivational cheers, a concept that just stuns me to the core. One guy rolled up his sleeves and shouted, "Give me an S. Where's my A? Did someone say T? T. Let's get a recall on that A. A. What's that spell? Santa. Who's the man? Santa. Come on, elves, feel good about yourselves. Let's raise the roof. Santa, Santa, Santa." It was this guy's job to send chills down our spine. And personally speaking, I think he did an excellent job. I was mortified. He ended the meeting by saying that even if you were assigned photo elf on a busy weekend, you are not Santa's slave. I spent the rest of my 8-hour day with 50 other elves and one perky, well-meaning instructor. The room was huge, an enormous classroom. The walls were lined with NCR 2152s. An NCR 2152, I have come to realize, is a cash register. Well, we were broken up into study groups and given our assignments. My group included several returning elves and a few experienced cashiers who tried to help me by saying things like, "You don't even know your personal ID code? Jesus, I had mine memorized by 10 o'clock this morning." Everything about the cash register intimidates me. The worst part is, after I've accumulated $300 in cash, I had to remove $200, fill out half a dozen forms, and run the envelope of cash to the drop in the china department, or to the vault on the balcony above the first floor. I will not be allowed to change my clothes. I will have to go dressed as an elf. Today we're told that the second weekend in December, Santaland is host to Operation Special Children, at which time poor children receive free gifts donated by the store. There's another weekend set aside for the terribly sick and deformed children. On that day, it's an elf's job to greet the child with the magic tree, then jog back to the house to brace our Santa. The next one is missing a nose, or Crystal has third-degree burns covering 90% of her body. Missing a nose. With children like these, Santa has to be careful not to ask, "And what would you like for Christmas?" Interpreters for the deaf came and taught us to sign. They taught us, "Merry Christmas. I am Santa's helper." They told us to use bright, clear voices and bold facial expressions. They taught us to say, "You are a very pretty boy/girl. I love you. Do you want a surprise?" My sister Amy lives above a deaf girl and has learned quite a bit about sign language. So now, from the things she's taught me, I am able to say, "Santa has a tumor in his head the size of an olive. Maybe it will go away tomorrow, but I don't think so." Today was elf dress rehearsal. Today we were given a tour of Santaland. I don't think so. Today we're given a tour of Santaland, which is really something. It's beautiful. There's 10,000 sparkling lights, false snow, candy canes and train sets and bridges and mechanical penguins and bears and decorated trees and really tall candy canes. The charm quickly faded when we were given the code names of the various positions. The long, narrow hallway besides the entrance is known as the "Oh My God" corner. People arrive and see the long line to see Santa and say, "Oh my God!" It's the elf's job to calm them down and explain it will take no longer than 1 hour to see Santa. Further along the path, we've come to what is known as the vomit corner, a mirrored wall where nauseous children tend to surrender the contents of their stomach. When someone throws up, the nearest elf is instructed to yell, "Vamos!" the brand name of the janitorial product used by the store. The path ends at the magic tree, which is supposed to resemble a complex system of roots. A child is supposed to think, "Oh my God, I can't believe I'm inside a tree!" But instead, it looks more like a large-scale model of the human intestinal tract. Once you pass through the tree, the lights dim, and an elf guides you by the hand to Santa's house, which looks more like a shack in regards to size. There is no toilet or sink, so it's hard to imagine Santa actually living there. It's more like his den or his think tank. But they've gone out of the way to make the place cozy and comfortable. The walls were lined with toys, and every house has a hidden camera. After the tour, we've given a demonstration of the various positions performed by returning elves that were so animated and relentlessly cheerful that it embarrasses me to walk past them. I don't think I can look someone in the face and say, "You look so pretty," or "Can you close your eyes and make a very special Christmas wish?" Everything these elves said had an exclamation point on the end of it. It hurts one's mouth to speak with such forced merriment. I don't know if I can look someone in the face and think that. I feel corny when people talk to me like that. Doesn't everyone? I'm more likely to say, "You look exhausted. Isn't this a school night?" Or, "I know a lot of people that would kill for that little waistline of yours." I don't think I'll be able to provide that grinding enthusiasm Santa is looking for. I think I'll be more of a low-key sort of elf. Today was elf dress rehearsal. The woman in charge of costuming assigned us our outfits and gave us a lecture on keeping things clean. She held up a calendar and said, "Ladies, you know what this is. Use it. For I have scraped enough blood out from the crotches of elf knickers to last me the rest of my life. And don't tell me I don't wear panties. I'm a dancer. You're not a dancer. If you were a real dancer, you wouldn't be here. You're an elf, and you're going to stop wearing panties like an elf." Elves have gotten to know one another over the past few days of training. But once we took our clothes off and put on uniforms, everything changed. This was really going to happen. My costume is green. I wear red and white striped tights, a yellow turtleneck, crazy little elf shoes, a green smock, and a perky stocking cap decorated in spangles. This is my elf uniform. During dress rehearsal, you have to go by your elf name. Many elves chose names like Jingle and Frosty. They take the children by the hand and squeal with forced delight. They sing and they prance and behave like cartoon characters come to life. It frightens me. My elf name is Crumpet. Today was the first day. Today was the opening day of Santaland. On any given day, you can be entrance elf, water cooler elf, bridge elf, train elf, maze elf, island elf, magic window elf, let's see, emergency exit elf, counter elf, magic tree elf, pointer elf, Santa elf, photo elf. Ooh, photo elf's a tough one. I'll talk about that later. Usher elf, cash register elf, runner elf, or exit elf. I worked as magic window elf. I was at the magic window for no more than 15 minutes when I was approached by this man who said, "You look so fucking stupid." I have to admit, he had a point. I wanted to say, hey, at least I get paid to look stupid, but he gives it away for free. But I can't say things like that because I'm supposed to be merry. So instead I said, "Thank you." Thank you. As if I misunderstood and thought he said, "Gee, you look terrific." Thank you. He was a brawny wise guy wearing a vinyl jacket and carrying a bag from Radio Shack. I should have said real loud, "Sorry, man, I don't date other guys." Magic window is boring. All you do is you stand here and say, "Step on the magic star, look through the window, and you can see Santa." I said that for a while, but then I started saying, "Step on the magic star, and you can see Cher." And people got excited. The people in the line to sit on Santa's lap broke through the gate, crossed the line in order to stand on my magic star. Then they got angry when they looked through the window and saw Santa instead of Cher. What did they honestly expect? Is Cher so hard up for money that she'd be willing to stand behind a two-way mirror at Macy's? The angry people must have said something because I was taken off Magic Star and sent to Elf Island, which is really boring. All you do is you stand around and act merry. At noon, a large group of special people came to visit Santa and passed me my magic star. These people were profoundly stupid. They were rolling their eyes and wagging their tongues and staggering toward the magic tree. It was a large group of special people, and after a while, I couldn't even begin to guess where the special people ended and the regular New Yorkers began. Everyone looks special when you put your mind to it. All we sell in Santaland are photos. It is a Santaland policy to take a picture of every child, which the family can either order or refuse. People are allowed to bring their own cameras, video recorders, whatever. It is the multimedia group that exhausts me. These are the people bent over with equipment in their quest for documentation. During these visits, children are seldom allowed to express their desires with Santa. They are too busy being art directed. Okay. Let's see. Anthony, Damascus, Teresa, Doug, Amy, Paul, and Vanity. Can we squeeze together? Oh, good. Santa, can you put Doug up on your shoulders? Oh, that's nice. Anthony, Damascus, look over here. No, over here. Santa, can you put your arm around Amy and shake hands with Paul at the same time? Oh, that's nice. Ugh. Sometimes, parents ask you to stand beside the child and wave. I do so. I stand beside the child and wave to the video camera, wondering where I'll end up. I often picture myself on a television set in a paneled room in Wampahetsett or Eastmost Meadows. The family fighting over the command of the remote control, hitting the fast forward button. The child's wave becomes a rapid salute. And I enter the picture and everyone entertains the same thought. What's that asshole doing in our Christmas memory tape? Children ages 2 to 4 tend to be frightened of Santa. They have no desire to have a picture taken because they don't know what a picture is. They're not vain. They're babies. They are babies and they act accordingly. They cry. A photo often understands that once a child starts crying, it's over. Parents have planned to send these pictures to relatives and post them in scrapbooks. They've waited in line for over an hour and they are not about to give up. Tonight, I saw a woman slap and shake her baby daughter, yelling at her, "God damn it, Rachel, you get on that man's lap and smile or I'll give you something to cry about." She shook her daughter until everyone's eyes were just rolling in their heads. She picked up the child and placed him on Santa's lap. I took the picture, which supposedly means that, well, on paper, everything is snowy and wonderful. It's not about the child, or Santa, or Christmas, or anything. But the idea of a world that parents cannot make for them. Following elves are now excused for their afternoon breaks. Puff, Noel, Crumpet, Carol, Little Frosty, and Dreidel. Our elfin guide says that we must cover our uniforms with a shirt or a smock while dining in the employee cafeteria. It's funny they would use the word dining. Grown men and women in candy cane leggings do not dine, they feed. During the first week, we had to suffer the jokes of the year-round employees who made fun of our uniforms, not knowing we make more money than they do. Yesterday I sat beside a Flushing elf named Ginger Snap. Ginger Snap is a squat, plump woman whose knickers fit her like tights. Complementing the overall look is a thick pair of oversized glasses and a swarm of barrettes used to clamp down her hair. I remember Ginger Snap from training, and I can't believe she lasted this long. It's not that she's not enthusiastic. Hey, any more spirit, they'd have to medicate her. Ginger Snap is, well, stupid. We'd be in training, and her hand would be in the air asking questions that were so obvious I wondered how she ever managed to make it to the 8th floor. We'd be running overtime, ready to go home, and she'd have her hand in the air asking, "Can we wear our costumes home?" Who would want to? What possible pleasure could it give you to board the subway dressed as a gnome? The management already laid down the law about our uniforms. The question was pointless. It was like asking, Can we force the children onto Santa's lap by knife point?" No. The answer is no. Now, if you please, just sit down and shut up. At the end of the day, I watched her approach a manager asking if she can work as an elf year-round. I've met elves from all walks of life. Most of them are show business people, actors and dancers, but they held real jobs at advertising agencies and brokerage firms before the recession hit. Bless their heart, these people never imagined there was a velvet costume in their future. They're the really bitter elves. I had lunch yesterday with someone I codenamed Flaky. Flaky recently moved here from Kansas City and is not very happy to be working for Santa. Every time I come across her, she's telling someone, "I'd rather be a starving artist in New York than to be artistically starving in Kansas City, Missouri." It makes me wince. She even says this to children. "I'm not a real artist. I'm not a real elf. I'm an artist." Flaky showed me some slides of her work, and during her off hours, Flaky stays busy gluing human hair to radios and telephone receivers. Everything she touches ends up looking like a Persian cat. I said, "Oh, what a cute idea." That was the wrong thing to say. Flaky strenuously objected to the word cute, then tried to sell me a blonde clock radio for $300. I said, besides the fact I don't have $300, who really wants to park their bangs to their alarm clock in order to read the time? So far, my least favorite elf is a guy from Florida I call the Walrus. The Walrus has a handlebar mustache, no chin, and a neck the size of my waist. The Walrus thinks Santaland is a singles bar. We'd be in the dressing room and we'd be in the dressing room and he'd confess to being a bit of a ladies' man. It embarrasses me. So far, my least favorite elf is a guy from Florida named the Walrus. The Walrus has a handlebar mustache, no chin, and the neck the size of my waist. In the dressing room, he confesses to being a bit of a ladies' man. The Walrus considers Santaland to be a singles bar. It's embarrassing to work with him. We'd be together at the Magic Star when he'd put his arm around a woman and pull her in and say, "Hey, I know you're not going to ask Santa for good looks. You've already got those, pretty lady." I'd pull him aside and say, "That was a mother you just said that to. A married woman with 3 children." He said, "I didn't see any ring." And then he'll point to the next available woman and whistle. I know Santa's married, but I'm not." So far, most of the elves are high school and college students. They're young and they're cute, and one of the job perks is that I get to see them in their underpants. The changing rooms are located in the bathrooms behind Santaland. The men's bathroom is small, and you have to stand on islands of newspapers to keep your socks dry because the toilet... Time out. Rewind. Most of the elves are high school students. Many of the elves are high school students and college. Many of the elves are high school and college students. They're young and they're cute, and one of the job perks is that I get to see them in their underpants. The changing rooms are located in the employee bathrooms behind Santaland. The men's room is small and the toilets often flood, so we are forced to stand on islands of newspaper just to keep our socks dry. The Santas have a nice bathroom, but you don't want to see Santa undress. So far, the cutest elf is a fellow from Queens named Snowball. Snowball tends to ham it up with the children, literally tumbling down the path to Santa's house. I tend to frown on this sort of behavior, but Snowball is hands down adorable. You just want to put him in your pocket. We'd be together as Santa's elves, and I became excited when he started saying things like, "I'd follow you to Santa's house any day, Crumpet." It made me dizzy, this flirtation. Later on, we're in the bathrooms changing, when all of a sudden we found ourselves surrounded by 3 Santas and 5 other elves. All guys that Snowball had been flirting with. Snowball just leads elves on. Elves and Santas. We're in the elevator when he was talking to his friends saying,
"I don't know what all these guys want with me. It gives me the creeps the way they stare."
Snowball is playing a dangerous game. It's one thing to get a child fired up, but you don't want to be working under a jilted Santa. Breaking elf should now report to the manager station for reassignment. Break is over. At least a third of Santa's visitors are adults, couples, and a surprising number of single men and women alone. Most of the single people don't want to sit on Santa's lap. They just want to come by and shake his hand and wish him luck. Often a single person is a foreigner who just happened to be shopping at Macy's when he was forced into the maze by the entrance elf, which is his job to hustle people in. One moment, the foreigner is looking at China. The next thing he knows, he's standing in front of a magic tree where an elf with a palm-sized counter asks,
"How many in your party?"
The visitor says, "Yes."
"How many in your party is not a yes or no question."
"Yes." Then the elf guides him by the hand to Santa's house, where the confused and exhausted visitor addresses a bearded man in a red suit and says, "Okay, today I am good." There's one guy who visits Santa, a good-looking, sloppy man in his mid-40s. Looked like another confused European to me, so I reassured him that it's okay. Many adults come to visit Santa. Everyone is welcome. An hour later, I noticed the same man back in line to visit Santa again. This time I asked him what he and Santa talk about, and in a cracked and puny voice he said, "The toys! All the toys!" This guy had a dent in the side of his forehead that you could place an acorn in a dent like this. Well, he got back in line and returned to visit Santa a third time, and on his final visit, he got so excited that he peed on Santa's lap. There were two New Jersey families that came to visit Santa. Two loud, obnoxious husbands with two wives and 4 children between them. The children sat on Santa's lap and gathered around to have a picture taken. And when Santa asked the 10-year-old boy what he wanted for Christmas, the father yelled, "A woman! Get him a woman, Santa!" These guys were loud and irritating, constantly laughing and jostling one another. The 2 women sat on Santa's lap, and when asked what they wanted, they each said a KitchenAid brand dishwasher and a decent winter coat. The men sat on Santa's lap, and when asked what they wanted for Christmas, one of the men yelled, "I want a broad with big tits." The man's small-breasted wife crossed her arms in front of her chest, looked down at the ground, and just gritted her teeth. The man's son tried to laugh. So far in Santaland, I have seen old Simone from General Hospital, Sean from All My Children, Walter Cronkite, and Phil Collins. Last year, an elf was suspended after asking Goldie Hawn to autograph her hand. We have been instructed to leave stars alone. Phil Collins was small and well-groomed. He arrived with his daughter and an entourage of 3. I don't care about Phil Collins one way or the other, but I saw some people who might and felt it was my duty to tap them on the shoulder and say, "Look, there's Phil Collins." Many of Santa's visitors are from out of town and welcome the opportunity to view a celebrity as it rounds out their New York experience. Me, I point out Phil Collins and people will literally squeal with delight. And seeing it as my job to make people happy, I don't have a problem with it. Well, Phil Collins entered the maze and was videotaping everything and generally having a good time. When he finally entered the magic tree, he was no longer visible to the maze audience. So I began telling people that if they left immediately, went down the hall and took a right, they could probably catch up with Phil Collins after his visit with Santa. And they did it. People left. When Phil Collins left Santaland, there was a crowd of 50 to 60 people waiting for autographs. When the managers came around to see who the loudmouth was, I said, "Phil Collins? Who's he?" But what's really exciting is I was talking with Sleigh Bell, an entertainer who's in the process of making a music video with their all-girls singing group. We were talking about one thing, then another. And she had said that she had appeared on television, mostly soap operas. I asked if she's ever done One Life to Live, and she said yeah, she had a bit part as a flamenco dancer when Cord and Tina married and traveled to Madrid for their honeymoon. Suddenly, I remembered Sleigh Bell perfectly. I remember Cord and Tina's honeymoon like it was yesterday. She was wearing a red lace dress and stomped upon a shiny nightclub floor until Spain's greatest bullfighter entered, challenging Cord to a duel. Sleigh Bell intervened and said, "Don't do it, senor. You'd be a fool to fight with Spain's greatest bullfighter." Anyway, we were talking when Carlton, another manager, got involved and said that he'd been on One Life to Live 7 times. He played Clint's lawyer when the entire Buchanan family was on trial for the murder of Mitch Lawrence. He said that Victoria Buchanan is just as sweet and caring in real life as she is on the show. He said Clint tends to keep to himself, but that Bo and Asa are a lot of fun. I can't believe I'm hearing these things. I know people that have sat around with Tina, Cord, Nikki, Asa, and Clint. I'm honing in. I'm getting closer. I can feel it. All of the Santas have different routines, and some want the child's name. So as you are leading the child from the magic tree to Santa's house, you say, What was your name again? It's right on the tip of my tongue, where I can't get at it." And they'll tell you the name, and you say, "That's right, Van." Then you lead them to Santa's house and say, "Just a moment, let me see if he is ready." and you poke your head in and whisper, "Van." And you lead the child to the door and usher him in. Then half the time Santa will say, "Stan, it's good to see you." It's hard to remember people's names. And some of the names are names I've never heard of before. Benicia, Fontage, Great. Yeah, a child named Great. I'm Great! That's a name that's bound to prove challenging once he gets old enough to start sleeping around. Santa Howard wants children's names. He sits the children upon his lap, asks if they've been good and what they want for Christmas, and then he asks what they plan to leave him on Christmas Eve to eat. They say, cookies and milk, and he'll ask what kind of cookie, and the child will say chocolate chip or whatever. Then he demands that the photo op say, "Chocolate chip, that's Santa's favorite kind of cookie!" I don't mind saying it, but I must have said it 60 times today. And later, Santa had a little Asian girl who wasn't familiar with the idea of leaving cookies on Christmas Eve. Santa asked her what she plans to leave him on Christmas Eve to eat, and she got a confused look on her face. He said, "Something round to eat?" The little girl said,
A potato?
I hate working with Santa Doug, who tends to spit when he talks. It just gushes out of his mouth every time he opens it. Tonight, a little girl was wiping her face saying, "Santa, why are you spitting on me?" Doug explained that it wasn't spit, it was merely frost coming off his beard. Hey, that might work on a 6-year-old, but what does he tell his friends? The worst, though, is Santa Santa. I don't know his real name. No one does. Most days is a slow period when you sit around the house and you talk with your Santa. Most of them are really nice guys, and you sit and you laugh and you joke. But Santa Santa takes himself a bit too seriously. I asked where he lives, Brooklyn or Manhattan. He said, "Why, I live at the North Pole with Mrs. Claus." I said, "But what do you do the rest of the year?" "Why, I make toys for all the children." "Yeah, but what do you do for money?" "Santa doesn't need money." Santa Santa sits and waves and jingles his bell sash when no one's in the house. He actually recited the night before Christmas, and it was just the two of us in the house. No children, just us. What do you do with a nut like that? Santa Santa will say, "Oh, little elf, bring Santa a throat lozenge." And I have to remind him that I have a name. It's Crumpet, and I bring him a throat lozenge. Santa Santa has an elaborate little act. He'll put the children on his lap and ask what they want for Christmas and if they've been good. And then he asks them to name their favorite Christmas carol. And most of them say, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And then Santa Santa asks if they will sing it for him. Well, the children don't want to sing because they're afraid to sing along. They're shy. So Santa Santa says, "Oh, little elf, come help young Brenda here sing that favorite carol of hers." So I have to stand there and sing, "Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer," which I hate. Then later, Santa Santa asked the little girl what her favorite Christmas carol was, and she didn't know. Later on, a little girl said she didn't know what her favorite Christmas carol was. So Santa Santa suggested, "Away in a Manger." The little girl agreed, but she didn't want to sing it because she didn't know the words. So Santa Santa said, "Oh, little elf, come sing Away in the Manger for us." Well, I didn't think it was fair that I should have to sing solo. So I said, "I don't know the words." He said, "Shh, of course you do. Come now, sing." So I sang it the way I remember Elvis singing it on his last Christmas album.
away in a manger, no crib for a bed. The little Lord Jesus laid down his sweet head.
Santa did not allow me to finish. Out of all the Santas, 2 are black. And both are so light-skinned with a beard and makeup, you'd be hard-pressed to determine their race. Last week, a black woman became upset after asking for a Santa of color was sent to Jerome. "He's not black," she said. We assured this woman that Jerome was indeed black. "Well, he isn't black enough." Jerome is a difficult Santa. Moody and unpredictable. He often sits and stares off into space, tallying up his paycheck for the hours he's worked so far. Jerome has he just has this bizarre agenda. When the children arrive, he looks down upon his boots and lectures them in a career in entomology. He tells them that the defensive spray of the stink bug may contain medicinal values that may one day cure mankind of communicable diseases.
"Do you know about this holistic medicine?" he asks.
The photograph takes a picture of a yawning child. I was pointing to Ralph, and this woman touched my arm and said, "We would like a traditional Santa. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about." I sent it to Jerome. A snowball had a man pull him aside and say,
"Last year we had a chocolate Santa. Last year we were stuck with a chocolate Santa. Make sure that doesn't happen again."
I was pointing to Elf all of 5 minutes when a woman touched me by the arm and said, "We would like a white Santa. White like us." I've had requests from both sides. White Santa, black Santa. A pointer elf is instructed to shrug his shoulders and feign ignorance, saying, "There's only one Santa." Today I worked as exit elf, shouting in a loud voice, "This way out of Santaland! It's this way!" There was a woman at the cash register paying for her pictures, while her son lay beneath her, kicking and heaving and having a tantrum. The woman said, "Riley, if you don't start behaving this instant, Santa is going to change his mind and not bring you any of those toys you asked for." Riley said, "He is too going to bring me those toys, liar. He already told me so." The woman grabbed my arm and said, "You there, elf. Tell Riley here that if he doesn't behave himself immediately, Santa is going to change his mind and bring him coal for Christmas." I said, "Santa no longer traffics in coal. Instead, if you're bad, he comes to your house and he steals things." I told Riley that if he didn't behave himself, Santa was going to come and take his TV and his appliances and leave him in the dark. All your appliances, including your refrigerator. Your food is going to spoil and smell bad. It's going to be cold and dark where you are. Man, Riley, you're going to wish you never heard the name Santa. The woman said, "Really, that's enough?" I said, "He's going to take your car and your furniture and your towels and blankets and leave you with nothing." The woman said, "Really, that's enough." Have you ever noticed that Santa is an anagram for Satan? I imagine a Satan land where visitors would wade through steaming pools of human blood and feces before arriving at the gates of hell, where a hideous imp in a singed velvet costume would lead them to Satan. Once I thought of it, I couldn't get it out of my mind. Overhearing the customers, I would substitute the word Satan for the word Santa.
What do you think, Michael? Do you think Macy's has the real Satan?
Don't forget to thank Satan for the baby alive he gave you last year. I love Satan. Who doesn't? Everybody loves Satan. Father Christmas or the devil. So close, but yet so far.
Attention Macy's shoppers! Remember that you've only got 12 shopping days left before Christmas.
As Christmas approaches, we grow progressively busier. There was no longer any downtime, and I think they need to outfit all us elves with cans of mace. It's all Santa, Santa, Santa! Not even the children have respect for us elves. Unless it's that dwarf. Then, oh, they go wild. Everybody wants a picture taken with that goddamn dwarf. Sure, she may look the part, but if you ask me, she's just coasting on her looks. I got a new haircut, and a few people complimented me, but it didn't register. I spend all day lying to people. You look so pretty. It's just not Christmas without you. You're all Santa talks about. You're Santa's favorite person in the entire tri-state area. Sometimes I lay it on thick. Aren't you the Princess of Rangovia? Santa said that a pretty princess would be coming to visit him today. She'd be wearing a red dress and was very pretty, but not stuck up or two-faced. That's you, isn't it? I lay it on, and the parents mouth the words, "Thank you," and "Good job." Tonight, I told this one little girl, "You're a model, aren't you?" She was maybe 6 years old, and she said, "Yes, I model, but I also act. I just got a second callback for a Fisher-Price commercial." The mother said, "You may recognize Caitlin from the My First Sony campaign. She's on the box." I said, "Yes, of course!" All I do is lie. And I think it's made me immune to compliments. I think I'm starting to lose it.
Attention holiday shoppers, remember that there are only 9 more days before Christmas.
I changed my elf name from Crumpet to Blisters. I know it's a little on the troller side, but circumstances have eroded my elfin spirit. Tonight, I was with Santa Carl when a mother came in with her young son saying, "All right, Jason, tell Santa what you want. Tell him what you want." Jason said, "I want Procter and Gamble to stop animal testing." The mother rapped her son on the back of the head and said, "That's Procter and Gamble. And what do they do to animals, Jason? Do they torture animals? Is that what they do?" "Yes, they torture." Christ! The kid was maybe 6 years old. Then later, I was working at the magic tree when I watched a woman unzip her son's fly and instruct him to pee in a bank of artificial snow. The kid was 4 years old, and he did it. He peed. Santaland may look like the great outdoors, but on careful inspection you can't help but to notice 4 walls and a ceiling. Attention everyone from your friends at Macy's. Remember, you only have 7 more days until Christmas. A spotted child came to visit Santa Ken. He climbed up onto Santa Ken's lap and expressed a wish to recover from chicken pox. Later on, a child climbed on Santa Ken's lap and asked for his dead father back. And a complete set of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everybody wants those turtles. Look, people. You've only got 3 more days to shop for Christmas. I'm in the oh my god corner, and we were packed. Absolutely packed. And everyone seemed to have a question. Which way to the elevator? Which way to the escalator? Which way to the patio restaurant? Gift wrap? Trim a tree? There was a line for Santa and a line for the woman's bathroom. And one woman, who already asked me 1,000 questions, got up into my face and said, "Which way is it to the woman's bathroom?" I shouted that I thought it was a line with all the women in it. She said, "I'm going to have you fired." Go ahead. I've had 2 people tell me that today already. I'm going to have you fired. I'm wearing a green velvet costume. It doesn't get any worse than this. I'm going to have you fired. Who do these people think they are? I should have said, I'm going to have you killed. This is just a reminder. We, Macy's, will be closed on Christmas Day. This leaves you with 1 more shopping day. That's it, 1. This was my last day of work. They told us Christmas Eve would be slow, but this was the busiest I'd ever seen it. Chaos a week's worth of training had prepared us for. 23,000 people behaving as though they were trying to board the last train out of town. I started at the magic tree, where I witnessed a fist fight between 2 women. I saw another lady have a crowd-related anxiety attack, falling to the floor, clutching her chest, waving her arms like she was swatting at bats. Families throwing disposable diapers into the candy cane forest and offering cash bribes to cut the line. A Long Island father called Santa a faggot when he refused to recite the night before Christmas, and through it all, the noise was deafening. Children crying, parents yelling and shouting, "What more do you want from us? I'm here, all right, now shut up!" This was the rowdiest I'd ever seen it, and we were short on elves, many of whom many of them who waited to the very last minute to show their true colors, either calling in sick or simply not showing up at all. Many of the elves complained, but the rest of us found us in the position we've been waiting for. It was us against them. Time to be a trooper, and I surrendered completely. I was sent to Santa Randy, who had him on his lap and off his lap in 30 seconds flat. He was like one of those talking dolls equipped with no more than 6 simple phrases. I know what you want for Christmas. There's no need to even tell me because Santa knows everything. How about a photo?
Oh, goodness, that was fun. See you next year.
His lap would still be warm from the last child when he leaned to me, bitching about the boredom of his 9-year relationship, saying, I deserve an affair, goddammit. Nothing life-threatening, just something to tide me over for the next few years. Noting a group of visitors on his doorstep, he'd snap out of it, saying,
I know what you want for Christmas. There's no need to even tell me, because Santa knows everything. How about a picture? Oh, goodness, that was fun. We'll see you next year.
When Randy's shift was over, he was replaced by a Santa I never worked with before. Usually the guy's name is written on the water cup that keep hidden on the toy shelves. I looked and saw no name. It was early evening and we were far too busy for introductions. Noting a group of visitors on the doorstep, my Santa would stop and sing, A pretty girl is like a melody. Families would enter with the children. And noting the young girl, my Santa would bring his gloved hand to his chest, fall back in his chair and moan, faking a massive heart attack. He would moan for a few moments before saying, Elf! Elf, are you there, Elf? I would say,
Yes, Santa, I am here.
He would say, Elf, I just had a dream that the most beautiful girl in the world was standing before me. She was seated here in my house. I'd say,
Open your eyes. That was no dream, Santa. Open your eyes, my friend. She is standing before you this very moment.
Santa would rub his eyes and say, Oh, heavenly day. You are the most beautiful girl I have seen in 617 years. He would scoop her upon his lap and flatter every aspect of her character, every feature went noticed. The girl was delirious, the center of attention. Santa gestured to the girl's mother and said, Is that your mother? Is that your sister I see over there? The girl would say, That's my mother, silly. Santa would call the mother over and ask if she'd been a good mother. Do you tell your daughter you love her? Do you tell her every day? The blushing mother would say, I try, Santa.
And you, sir, step forward. What do you do besides make money?
If I were lucky enough to have young Kathleen as my daughter, I would kiss her forehead 10 times a day and tell her about the joy she brings to my life.
Will you do that for me? It would mean a lot to Santa.
The father bent down and kissed his daughter's forehead. And Santa ended by saying, I want you to remember to love one another as much as they love you. He would close his eyes and prepare for the next visitor. The great thing about this Santa was that he never even asked the children what they wanted. He tailored each reception for each specific group. Me, I can go any old way. If you want to hustle them along, then I will be your sheepdog, herding them in one door and out the other. If you want to make fun of them, hey, I'm one step ahead of you. But this caught me completely because I am not a good person. I never have been. Before tonight, I've never been accidentally mistaken for a good person. But suddenly, I was good by association. Parents left grabbing my arm and thanking me. And these are grown men and women crying on the night before Christmas. My shift ended at 8 o'clock, and It was with reservation I reported to the manager to tell her I had to leave. And then, oh, suddenly, I loved this woman. She raised her voice in anger a few times, but that was directed at the old me. I felt certain she would recognize the change, and together we would share a special moment, maybe shed a tear or two. And surely I'd be left with a kind of warmth a person can hold in their hearts forever. I had stuck it out, and I felt certain she would want to place my cap in the Elfin Hall of Fame. I searched the room and joined behind the counter where she was talking with a customer. I touched her arm and said that I have to go now. She placed her arm on my shoulder and gave it a gentle squeeze and continued her conversation with the customer, saying, "Please, ma'am, please don't tell the manager that I called you a bitch. Tell him I called you a fucking bitch, because that's exactly what you are. Now get out of my sight before I do something we both regret." The customer fled, and me, I was one step ahead of her. Thank you.